Hi, I'm Levi Cabas. I'm a data reporter at Sportico, and this is Sportico Teaches Home Field Advantage. For whatever reason, and there might be many, the team that is playing at home in their familiar stadium in front of their own fans just has a higher winning percentage than the road teams. In terms of how it might affect fans right now, if fans are gambling on games, then they may want to take into account the fact that one team has home field advantage before thinking about how they want to place their bets on that game. Generally, people tend to bet on favorites in the NFL specifically. That's very common. So even more important than home versus road, there's a very clear trend over time that people like betting on favorites. So that's if the favorite is the home team and the home team wins, then that's not good for the books. So it's always a little bit of a push and pull between bookmakers trying to figure out how much is home field advantage worth so that we can correctly make the lines and that they're accurate, and fans trying to figure out how much is home field advantage worth so that we can figure out is this line correct, and maybe there's an opportunity to make some money here. So yeah, this past weekend was an example in the NFL Conference Championships where on one side, in the AFC, the Bengals came into Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City and won, which was very surprising. The Chiefs were favored by 7.5, I think. And then on the other side, the Rams won at home, so they defended their home field. And in the upcoming Super Bowl, it's interesting because for the first 54 years, the Super Bowl was a neutral site game. Neither of the teams had home field advantage. But then last year was the first year when Tampa Bay made the Super Bowl, and it was in Tampa that one team had the home field. And, could just be a one-time incident, but Tampa won that game. So you need a lot bigger sample to actually see if the Super Bowl has a strong home field advantage, because there's a lot of tourists, there's a lot of non-fans traveling to that game. So it's hard to tell after just one Super Bowl if having the Super Bowl in your home city really matters. But Tampa won last year, so that's one data point. And this year, the Super Bowl is in Los Angeles, where the Rams play. So they will have the second straight year where one of the teams is playing at home. Up to you who to bet on. But all I can say is that in the NFL over the past 3 years, home teams have barely had a winning record over away teams. They've only won about 51% of games. So this is leading some to believe that home field advantage is kind of disappearing in the NFL because better travel, better sleep, just better scheduling in general by teams. Others may think that this is just a multi-year fluke and that eventually home field advantage will return, especially considering that one of those recent years was heavily affected by COVID and the lack of fans. So it's hard to tell. Do you trust the more recent sample where home field advantage has really not existed at all? Or do you trust the larger sample of decades and decades of football and multiple other sports where home field advantage does exist? Only time will tell. Soccer actually has been shown to have the most significant home field advantage, where home teams win sometimes upwards of 60% of games in certain leagues. Basketball's NBA has historically been around 60%. It's now gone down a little bit recently too, to around 55%, maybe because of similar effects to the NFL, better travel, better accommodations for road teams. Baseball has been incredibly steady, around 55% throughout the entire history of the MLB. Hockey's around there too. So football went from having a fairly strong home field advantage to now being over the past 3 seasons at least, being the weakest home field advantage of all those leagues. So just the disparities are very interesting. And there's also disparities between different teams. One interesting factoid is that in, I think, all 4 of the major sports leagues, there was a study that showed that Denver had the strongest home field advantage. And Denver has a very unique home field advantage because of the high altitude. It might affect how athletes' endurance. It affects maybe even how the ball travels in baseball parks or in football. So training in Denver may give you an advantage of being able to deal with those conditions in a different way. So some home field advantages are stronger than others for certain teams. Thank you for watching. This has been Sportico Teaches. For more data analysis and other similar content, subscribe to Sportico channels.